So we have 4 art historians, right? And then we have the 4 public lectures, or topics, sorry, LOSW. The lectures will be given one at a time with each art historian giving a lecture on a different one of the topics. That's key. That means you're never going to see like these lectures appear more than once, right? They're all going to appear once. And I'm going to have the top row for the historians and the bottom row for the lectures. You can switch that. It doesn't really matter. I think as I went around, most people had this sort of arrangement. Am I wrong? Kyle, you...
Yeah, I didn't put the second row. I kind of just like put them both together in the same space.
Oh, I see. So
Like,
you put like FL or something like that. Yeah, or I guess FL wouldn't work, but something like that. I see what you're saying. Yeah. So here, by doing the ordering left to right and the sort of the grouping vertically, we can take advantage of different visual representations for the rules.
Yeah, make it a lot easier to visualize everything in your head.
Yeah, because one thing that's challenging, like if you said that F and I don't know, F and S were together, that's like, it's like we're forcing our mind to say, wait, those things are grouped together, as opposed to F comes in one slot and S comes in the next slot, right? So it's like you have one symbol for 2 different ideas. We want to avoid that to the extent possible. But we haven't seen this before, so no worries. Okay. This is called a hybrid game, by the way. The first 2 games were ordering. This is a hybrid game because we have ordering and grouping. In any case, the O and the W are earlier than the L. So, okay, O, W, earlier than L. Notice I have 2 dashes coming out of L because I don't know O and W's relationship. One could come before or after the other. Okay, F's lecture must be earlier than O. Now, I think a lot of times people don't want to link these rules together because they're like, wait, F was a speaker and O is a topic. That's okay. I mean, maybe you want to be aware of that and say, hey, this is a historian or whatever. Actually, that's confusing because of age. But one thing I find myself doing here when I have 2 groups of variables, I will memorize one group. I will just, and they tend to be in the same part of the alphabet, thankfully, but I will memorize one group, and that's all you have to do, because if you ever encounter a variable that you're not familiar with, you're like, well, it must be in the other group. Okay, so here I like this FGHI. It's like, okay, all those letters are together normally anyways, so. Okay, let's keep going. So then we have H must be earlier than both G and J. Okay, so H has got to come before G and before J. We have 7 variables there, yet 8 overall. Who's missing?
S.
S is our floater. Okay, now let's make some inferences here. What variables are pretty constrained?
F and H.
Yeah, F is pretty constrained, H is pretty constrained. What do we know about F and H, speaking of them?
They can only go in the first 2.
They can only go in the first 2, right? So H has to come before these 2, and these 2 are both, wait, what did I wrote J? I?
Yeah.
What the heck? Oh, that's a horrible J. I tell you, I should just look at the words. You guys are going to have no faith in my variables. I almost never mess up the variables. And 2 tonight? I don't know, it must be the water. Okay, so, well, that would clear things up. Anyways, the point here is that these two variables are, or all 3 of these variables are historians, right? They're speakers. And so if 2 come after them, then H could only be limited to those 2. Cool with that? So an F has to come before these 2, which means F also has to be in the first 2. So I went ahead and wrote FH going back and forth like that. Is that, Leslie, what you had in mind?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Are we all cool with that? All right. Now, that's pretty significant because up at top, if we say F and H are here, then we still have G and J, so they must go in those last 2, right? So that's pretty complete. Okay? Now, on the bottom, we have O and L have to come in, and W have to come before L, So what does that mean about L?
Earliest it could go is third.
Yeah, the earliest it could go is third, so either L is here or here. Okay, so L is going back and forth here. Do we know, I mean, O and W are pretty flexible. They could be going back and forth here if L is there. Oh, actually, it depends on F. But if L goes here, then you kind of have a lot going on. So I'd probably stop there with the inferences and then start thinking about worlds. So if you were to create worlds, what might be a valuable variable to focus on? Which one?
We did if F was in first or second.
Yeah, because F ties into O and L. You could also do it on the basis of L, because L ties into O and F. So knowing where F is, knowing where L is, could be really helpful. Now, there's only two options in either case. If you focused on F, you only have two options. If you focus on L, you only have two options. So it seems like it might be worthwhile to do it. Right? There's only two worlds, and it seems like we could make some more inferences if we made those assumptions. So I went ahead and created them. Let's go ahead and give that a shot. World 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. By the way, when you create worlds, and you already have your rules all written down and stuff like that, you can just do 4 slots. You don't have to do 8 because we can just use the top and bottom, right? We already know what's going on in this game. We don't need to make it any more complicated. So let's go ahead and do it on the basis of what Amy said. Amy said she split it on the basis of F. So we'll put F there, and we'll put F there. Notice that when you create worlds, you want to start with your assumptions. A lot of times people will be like, okay, I'm going to create worlds on the basis of F. And they'll put F in here, and then they'll fill out this world, and then they'll go to this world, and they'll start making the wrong assumptions. Like they'll think that it was based on something else or whatever, you just forget. So you say, okay, look, these are my 2 core assumptions. Assumption 1 is that F is first. My other assumption is that F is second, because those are the only 2 possibilities. Now, which one of these is easier to fill out? I think the second one, right? It's going to force O and L into some slots. So who's got this? Patrick, you got it? World 2?
Yes.
Okay, go for it. F goes here, what happens?
So that would mean O and L have to be the last 2, but they can switch back and forth. Or no, they can't switch back and forth.
They cannot, you're right, excellent.
But W, I guess W could go in the first or the second.
Yeah, because W just has to come before L.
Yeah.
And who's the other one on the bottom?
S.
S. And what do we know about S?
S is a floater.
Yep.
So it could be either, yeah.
Excellent. Okay, then we'll have anything else can we do with this? Or
I mean, you could fill in H
Yep.
before F.
Yep.
And then G and J. Well, we don't really know anything about G and J in relation to the variables on the bottom, so
Yeah.
they would just interchangeable.
That's exactly right. Kristen?
Hi.
Hi. You had your hand up.
I'm good.
Oh, you're good. Okay.
Thanks.
All right.
Yeah.
So, F. Who's got this one? Katie? You game?
Oh. I was gonna think that, G and J are interchangeable.
Okay. G and J are interchanging. Yep.
And that H is just second.
Yeah. H second.
And then O, I would say that O has to be second.
Okay. So, O has to be here. Why do you think that O has to be second?
That at least, well, it can't be first.
Can't be first.
And it can't be last. So I guess it could be 2 and 3.
Could be 2 or 3, right? Now, one thing we could do here is just say, hey, look, O has to come after F, right? So I'm going to put a line there to avoid any confusion, because I don't want O coming before. And then we have O back here, and then O back here. I'm sorry, O and L. And then what's left?
S and W.
Yep, S is a floater, and W has to come
Before.
sometime before L, but it doesn't necessarily have to be before O. You know what, honestly, there's just a lot going on here. I'd probably just do 2 worlds. Because O is only have 2 places and then you're done. Amy, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, that's what I did, but I didn't know who to start.
Wait, what? That's what you did, what?
Like I did 3 worlds like that.
Yeah, so what we did 2 worlds, then we took 1 and we made it into 1A and 1B. Now, this may feel like oh, I don't want to do 1 more world, but that's 3 diagrams. Again, if you tested any more than 2 answer choices, you've already caught up with this, right? So, Katie, is that okay? Can we deviate from our original plan? And you said that O could either go here, or it could go here, right? Which one of these is easier to fill out? Huh. So I would say the second one is easier to fill out because if we have O here, we know L has to come after it. So L would have to go here, right? And then we have WS left. Are you cool with this, Katie? So WS. And then up here, we know that L is coming back here. And it's got to come after W. So L is kind of annoying. So L is back here. And then we still have W that's got to come before it. And then S is a floater. So then W is somewhere before L. So W could be back there or it could be up there. We're done. Which questions do we want to talk about? Which questions took us time?
Wait.
Yeah.
Question about
Yeah.
the questions.
Sure.
Does the fact that like there are multiple which questions, like would that be maybe like would you ever do like a quick scan of the questions and like how many of a certain question type there are as a signal? Oh, like if there are that many which questions, I should probably do worlds.
Not really, because even if you have a lot of if questions, if the worlds make sense,
Right.
then that just means you're not going to have to create diagrams for those if
Or
questions.
sorry, which questions?
Yeah, but so if there were a lot of if ones,
Right.
oh, sorry, I kind of jumped ahead of myself. So if there were a lot of if ones, you might think, oh, maybe I shouldn't do worlds because I can just create them as I go, right, as I do the if questions. Whereas when you have a lot of which questions, it might make sense to have a lot of worlds because then you're not, those are the ones where they don't give you any work.
Right.
Boy, that's loud. Anyways.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was saying. Like if there are a lot of which questions, is that kind of a signal ahead of time that you should do worlds?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It really just comes down to the same test. How many would I have to create
Yeah.
and how helpful are they going to be?
Okay.
Because if they're not going to fill out, then you don't want to do them. And if you have to
Right.
create a ton of them, you don't want to do them, even if you have a lot of which questions. Yeah. Okay, so which questions did we find challenging? Seven. Which one following must be true? So, F's lecture is earlier than S. Does F have to come before S?
No.
Nope. Okay. H is earlier than L. Does H have to be before L? Yeah, even if we go back to the original inferences that we made, H is coming back and forth here and L is here. So that's got to be true. Okay. Julie, you feel good about that? Okay. Other questions that were challenging? Yes?
9.
9. Which one following cannot be true? Okay? Just cannot be true. Could F give L? Notice right here, F comes before O now. So there's no way that F could ever be aligned with L. So that's the answer. Dude, seriously, that is like crazy. Is it louder back there? How would you know? It feels like it's coming from that direction. All right, 10, 6, questions on either of those? 8?
Can we go over 10?
10, yeah. If G gives the S, which one following could be true? If G gives the S, we're not looking at world 2, right? Because S and G can't happen together. We are looking over here. We're not looking at 1B because G and S could never be together. So that means we're looking at 1A. You cool with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what has to be G gives S. So we know S is right here. If S goes here in this world, in your mind, what happens?
Then W.
Sorry, I'm trying to think with that. If S goes in the third slot, then L has to go in the last slot.
Has to go in the last slot. Then what happens?
O has to go. W has to be in first because F is before O.
Yeah, and O is stuck there. Yeah. So S would go here, L would go here, W would go there. Alright, so which one could be true? L is third. No, we have S in third, right? Oh, actually,
Yeah, because
we have S and G going back and forth.
Yeah.
So we could have S come here and J and L come there. So L could be third. That's the answer. It's just this thing right there. Okay. Which answer are you debating?
I picked A. So.
Oh.
Yeah. I was just. It took me a little longer, so I wanted to go over.
Yeah, cool. That makes sense. So maybe worlds might have helped. Did you have worlds?
No, not in this.
Okay. Now, I don't want to suggest that I think you should do worlds every time. Sometimes people try to force worlds where you shouldn't do them. Just when there's that opportunity, you at least will have want to have thought through that. Any other questions on this game? Yeah.
What should we aim for time-wise?
That's a good question. I would say for this game, now there's 2? Seriously. I would say, I think 8 minutes is not unreasonable. Yeah.